Well, we're celebrating freedom this weekend, yes? And it's interesting, we talk about the spirit of freedom. We talk about the freedom in spirit. Anybody agree there's an American spirit? There is. And, but it is spirit. And it's really kind of fascinating. I've been looking at this idea this week. And in spirit, or being inspired, means that there is a incorporeal seal, which means without body, spirit everywhere present. If you look it up in the dictionary, spirit, it has a couple different definitions, but generally it's an energy that's everywhere present. Okay, and I looked it up, and the Bible says, you ready? And it says so in, where did I go here? John 4:24, God is spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Okay? So I'll say it again. God is spirit, and we must worship him in spirit and truth. So if God is spirit, where is God? Just by definition, right? And there's a spirit that we call freedom. So maybe God, energy, and spirit is freedom itself. Spirit is always everywhere present. The word incorporeal really means without body. And the Bible is full of references to what is spirit, what is not spirit. Anyway, the Bible does say that which is flesh, and that which is spirit, is spirit. So why does the Bible make that difference? Why does the Bible talk about the difference between flesh and spirit? Okay? And Jesus said that God is spirit and must be worshipped in spirit and truth. So if you understand, there is the corporeal, which is our body and the material world around us, and then there's another state of being, which is called a spiritual state of being, which is in spirit or spirit. And spirit is everywhere present, which means everywhere. Now, what does the word everywhere mean? See, we've got to be careful with these words. We really do. How far does everywhere go? Okay? Everywhere. Which means beyond our comprehension. You stop and think about light travels 186 miles per second. And in that second, light has already traveled 186,000 miles. Okay? And the closest star, as far as we know, is, you ready? 5 million light years away. Okay? So how far does God's spirit go? It's incomprehensible to our finite mind. So if we can stretch a little bit and understand that maybe we really don't know what we think we know. I've been really looking at the idea. We are saying that man has evolved to a certain level of understanding in today's world from Cro-Magnon or, the ape-type person, if you believe in evolution, and in that time has gained knowledge. Now, is it possible that it might be the other way around? That the first chapter in Genesis says that we were created in the image and after likeness of God, which means what? Just in our modern language, what does it mean? I'll say it again. We were created in the image and after the likeness of God. So what does that mean? See, your mind, you really can't even get there because it's like, oh my God, that means if I'm created in the image and likeness of God, that means I am like God. Or I'm created with all the powers of God. I'm created with all the attributes of God. I'm created with all the energies of God. Okay, so then what happened? Second chapter of Genesis said, and man was made of the earth, dust of the earth, which is the physical part of us. So maybe what has happened over this period of time is we have, rather than evolved, we have devolved into material consciousness so that we've forgotten who we really are. maybe who we really are is that creation in the first chapter of Genesis. And maybe what we're trying to remember is that we are God expressing itself in this physical world, but we've forgotten that. Now, that's the story that's in many, many of the ancient religions. You know, the Hindu background, a lot of the other religions have talked about we were man God or human God. And we have forgotten that, and here we are in a material world, and we are so deeply embedded in the material world that we have forgotten who we really are. Charles Fillmore, what's interesting is I've been looking into next Sunday, and Charles Fillmore, the Daily Word for next Sunday, it talks about his 3 affirmations. And one he was talking about, there's a spirit around us of good in all cases. Well, that's what quantum dynamics has been talking about, okay, in the new science, which is only less than 100 years old, okay? As a matter of fact, it's 50 or 60 years old, and he said that 95 years ago. So what is happening is that maybe we are awakening from a devolved state, and that's what our job is here now. Okay, in the work today, 1 Corinthians, here it is, here. I've got this one. I'm in good shape. Okay. 14:15 is the one today. It says, "What then shall I do? Will I pray with my spirit, and I will pray with my understanding or my mind?" So do you see, the mind is a corporeal thing. It is in us, around us, and our mind thinks, okay? And I can pray with my spirit. So what's the difference between those two things? And it clearly, in here, Paul is saying we have a spiritual self and we have a physical self. And then he says, and if you read on 15, I will sing with my spirit. Do you ever kind of wonder where you're singing a song and you wonder where it's coming from? A good song. Madeline and I like, what is the name of that quintet? They are great. They really are. It's a group of a cappella singers that sound like they have instruments and everything in it. And there's a song they sing which is absolutely beautiful. The harmony, you would appreciate. It's just wonderful. But the words are negative. So all of a sudden we realized, and we played the song. So all of a sudden, one afternoon, I'm sitting there singing this song in my head with this negative lyrics, okay? So what was doing that? Not my spirit. My mind had taken over, okay? Now, you ever wind up singing a good song? Like once in a while, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, okay? Now, where did that come from? I'd like to think it came from spirit. So we are constantly working back and forth between the mind and spirit. And it says over here, when I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. Okay? For now we see through a mirror darkly, but then face to face. So what happens is, as we become, a word came into my mind, I'm not sure whether it's right, but I'm going to use it, undevolved. Of course, in other words, we have devolved into material world. Once we start understanding that we are a spiritual being having a material experience, then we start waking up. And what's happening in the world right now, I believe we are waking up. Maybe I'll coin that word, undevolved. But anyway, okay. But then I shall know, even as also I am known. Known by whom? Do you see it? In other words, the Bible's full of these conversations that if once we go, oh, look at that. I'm going to read it again. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face, which means I start understanding. Now I know in part. In other words, we know a certain amount, but then shall I know about myself even as I am known. Now, who am I known by? God, Spirit. In In other words, Spirit already knows you're perfect and whole just as you are. Those trivial issues that occur, like, I'm running out of money, or this is happening, or kids are around all the time, whatever it is. Those are trivial things that are there to keep us on track. Hugh Prather, I love the metaphor he uses. He said, if you really understand that life is like a funhouse ride, and when you ride in a car and going through a funhouse, the cart is on tracks, and it's going to take you in, and in the ride, there's going to be all these things pop out to scare you or frighten you, okay? But at the other end, this cart is going to, on trail, it's going to be there at the other end. And that's what life is like. Nothing can get you. Nothing can hurt you. All these things are popping out of life to try to scare you and wake you up. Okay? It's really fascinating. I love it. So, I've got another one here I want to share with you, and because I'm really looking at this. And these are all famous verses. Chapter 12, Romans 12, verse 2. But be ye transformed by the renewing of your minds. Okay. You see how it all starts tying together? That's what excites me, and that's what we're here to do, is to wake up. So it says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your minds, that you may discern. By the way, what does discern mean? Somebody help me. Understand. Good. So that you may understand or may figure out for yourself what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So what is the will of God for us? What does the Scripture tell us the will of God is for us? Not what I was, What? Our good. It's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. The kingdom includes health, abundance, peace, bliss, joy, everything. So it's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, and it's up to us that you may discern what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. What do you mean we have to discern it? We have to accept it and be aware that it's there. See, that's the big step. It's kind of like the prodigal son. He was the one we talked for a long time. The prodigal son is a metaphor for everything we're doing, which is returning to the Father. And the Father in the prodigal son story does not say, "Wait a minute, you got to go down to the creek and wash yourself off." That doesn't say anything. It just runs to get the son that has been left. Okay? And what does he do? Kills the fatted calf, covers him with good clothing, gives him a big ring. So that's our promise. And part of that is on a daily basis, forgetting about what we're worried about and looking at what we really are. And what are we? In spirit. We are children of God. And again, as a child of God, what do we inherit? Everything that God has. And does God have problems or disease or no? It's impossible. So how come we're sitting in messes? Okay? Who created the messes? Not God. And thank you. I did. Okay? And that's that big step that says, I am responsible. Okay? But be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So what's that mean? If you don't like what you got, change your mind. We go back. I was thinking the Today Church was a real phenomenon. And he kept saying the same thing over and over. Okay? Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So, I want to tell you that the self-confession, everybody ready? There are times I think, well, my thoughts aren't really that bad. Anybody relate to that? Or I deserve to feel sorry for myself once in a while. And is that true? Well, by their fruit ye shall know them. By the type of thinking that you have is what you have in your life. So by the renewing of your mind means that only good thoughts produce good things. So any anger, any upset, any Anybody familiar with revenge? Any thoughts of revenge? Any thoughts of poor little me, victimhood? Nobody appreciates me. I'm all in a corner by myself. Those are all thoughts that produce in their kind. So I'm realizing I can't afford to feel sorry for myself. I can't afford to go into a funk once in a while. Can't afford to be down, if you will. Because in doing that, I'm creating more of those things that I don't want. Job said in the Old Testament, that which I feared has now come upon me. And what are the things we fear in our world today? What are we trained to fear? Somebody help me. What? Sickness, yeah. Oh my God. Poverty, yeah, it's all around us, and you better be careful or you're going to be stuck. All right, what else? Huh? Snakes, yeah. Oh my God, a snake. Accidents. See, and we even reinforce each other's because, it's like, you have a member of your family go somewhere. Well, drive safely. Your thought was there might be an accident, and so what are we actually creating? We're creating the energy that is around an accident. Okay? That's one of the reasons I love unity so much, because the truth is only God exists. There isn't anything else. You go into the first principle. There is a power for good in the universe, and then you go into the rest of it. We have access to that energy or spirit through our thoughts. And since we are an expression of God, that's our divinity expressing itself. So if we don't like the way things are, what do we change? Can't change the outside. Everybody there? To change, all meaningful and lasting change takes place on the inside and works its way to the outside. That's a quote from Mr. Lou Tice, who's a man I heard years ago. And it sticks with me. All meaningful and lasting change takes place on the inside and works its way to the outside. And if I don't like anything on the outside, who put it there? I did. Okay? I do want to take a leap. Are you ready? We're gonna work with this book on Wednesday. And I was kind of looking through it, and I really wanted to share some of this with you. And and we, if you look at it, we are on the edge of creation. That's what Abraham through Esther Hicks says. Judge Thomas Troward said, spirit is always for growth and expansion. So it says one of the greatest challenges facing mankind today is the challenge of traditional religion to find a present-day faith that corresponds with present-day needs. See, a lot of places what we're doing is we are building a religion around something that occurred 2,000 years ago. Okay? Now, is God the same God that is here today that was there 2,000 years ago? Yeah. Yeah. So nothing has changed. Yeah. The Bible tells us that he is the same always. So what changes? We change. Okay? So a lot of people think, well, the miracles that occurred were back then. No, it's the same power, same access, same process that was occurring yesterday that occurred today. So the challenge to religion today is to recognize and teach that God is not only God of history, God is also the God of today. So the question is your God up to date? Or no, that's incorrect. Is your thought of God up to date? Okay? And then it says the supreme power of the universe is not locked in ancient scriptures. They're not. They are stories is all they are. But is alive in the world today. So are we making God alive in the world today? And how does God become alive in the world today? Through us. Because we are the expression of God here to bring that energy into this physical world. Revelation is not a special dispensation of God, but a quality of divine mind and a faculty of our minds. So you are here to reveal God when you allow that to occur. Unity has been the forefront of new religious concern for self-management of the mind. Unity says that the mind is the connecting link between God and humanity. Does that make sense? In other words, and I'll use it as a postulate, if there is a divinity, what is our connection to that divinity? Where does it occur? Obviously, it's got to be in the mind. Okay? And so we are part of spirit connected through our mind, which we might call, where that connection is, the Christ. Okay? Unity is an ecumenical movement, etc. Unity is not a church in the usual sense. Okay? And these are some of the things we're going to cover on Wednesday night, so I won't go too far. But the ideas here, I keep looking at things. And to find it adequate, the key to it is, right now, what is an understanding of life? How do I understand life? Okay, the big questions are, where did I come from? Where am I going? What am I doing here? Why am I here? And I came from God. I'm here to express God. My purpose in being here is to bring God into this physical manifestation. And, of course, the miracles say to be happy and have fun doing it. And so I have to ask, am I doing that? Okay? And I know you are asking that question this week. Okay? So, there's so much to cover. And it's all the same stuff over and over and over again. It really is. And no matter how you say it, the Father and I are one. I am here to express the Father. It's the Father's good pleasure to give me and you the kingdom. And as I express the Father, the kingdom occurs in my life. Simple, simple message. Thank you, Kenny. Thinking about that myself. When you go to a funeral and you see a human body, the human body is flesh and bones. The animating spirit is gone. It's no longer there. And if you really stop and think about it, nothing has changed in that person's body. Nothing. It still has its skin, its bones, the blood is still there. Everything is still there. How come it's dead? Or it is deceased? Spirit has left. Spirit's gone. So where did the spirit come from? See, everything has an origin. Everything has an origin. If you stop and think about that, spirit, in spirit. Where is spirit? Science today tells us spirit is everywhere present. Bible tells us spirit is everywhere present. So we are spirit in human form, and when it's time to leave, we leave the body. But we don't cease to exist. We just exist in our incorporeal body, which is spirit.